What day were you born?
February 24th, 1933.
February 10th, 1933. I was born in Wells County in the house that I lived in all this while. I was born in the house. I was a breech baby. They got me out all right, but I've been nuts ever since. We didn't have no running water in the house at that time. But the toilets or nothing in the house. I was the youngest one. My mom's mom and dad, I don't remember nothing about them. But Grandpa Bauermeister, he lived just a mile and a half south of us. That was the old Bauermeister place. When Grandpa had come over from Germany when he was, they said about 19 when he came over from Germany. And then he went back and got Grandma, I guess, and they lived there.
I know Erm was probably, old enough to take care of me. And, well, come to think of it, I slept with Erm in a twin bed. I know when I got a little older, I always liked to wash clothes and hang them on the line. Baby clothes, or something kids play with. Dorothy and Louina slept together in a double bed, and we were, the four of us, in one bedroom. And our bedroom, you came up the stairs, you went to the right, you went to our room, and the boys had their room behind. They always had to go through our room, so every time we heard the boys coming up, everybody'd run for the closet or, someplace. And if you went to the left, at the top of the stairs, that's where my mom and dad slept. But yeah, I slept in a twin bed with my sister. Well, there were two girls about my age in the neighborhood, and we always played together. That is one thing I remembered. This house, we'd go bicycling together. And then there was a creek close to it with a bridge, and we'd go down there and throw things, mess around.
Oh, of course, you always played softball or baseball and made your own games. And of course, you'd go down to the creek and think you're fishing and ride bikes and just get out of mom's hair for half a day and come back to eat and go again, do something, either be down to grass or Bauermeisters or somebody. We didn't have toys. Mom and Dad didn't buy no toys. We didn't have no money. Made your own. I remember getting my first bicycle. I was probably 8 or 9. I remember getting the first bicycle.
I remember that too. Neighbor had tomatoes across the road, and I picked tomatoes to get money to buy a bicycle.
I remember trying to ride a bicycle. Didn't know how to ride it. We didn't have training wheels. We had a fence, a wire fence around our house there, the lawn, and it had a bar on top. And I remember riding along there and holding on to that bar until I learned how to ride a bicycle. And I remember one time, there's a picture here someplace, I was about 6 years old or 5, and I'm standing out in the lawn Christmas morning holding up a pocket knife I got for Christmas, and I don't know why that stuck with me or why that was so important. I do remember, I was probably a little older, we was probably about 10 years old. We thought we was gonna smoke cigarettes. And of course we didn't have any money to buy cigarettes, so we made our own out of toilet paper and corn husks. Well, when you lit that, it just went poof, burnt my eyebrows off, singed them. When I got home, we was eating supper, and wasn't long they got on me what happened. And of course, they knew when they seen the eyebrows. I don't remember what the hell the outcome was, but it wasn't good. I remember a lot of things that I had to do. Not so much I had to do, I liked to do. Dad had chickens, he had cows, he had pigs, he had some sheep. And I never cared for chickens. But I remember coming home from school and I had a little 4-wheel wagon that I pulled, and that would hold 5-gallon pail of water. My job when I come home from school was to go to water the chickens. I'd go out to pump and pump that water, fill in buckets. Sister Eldor played piano, and Marvin Eldor played guitar, and he thought I should play too. So I started taking piano lessons, and it didn't last very long. I didn't have my heart in it. And the teacher finally told him, he said, all he's thinking about, he wants to be out in the barn instead of playing the piano. So that was the end of my piano lessons.
I went to manual school. There was another girl, and then another boy, and then this Dizzy. It was just the three of us in the confirmation class. And I was real small.
I went to Bethlehem school, 8 grades, and one teacher. We always just had a student teacher, had a different teacher every year until I was in the 4th grade, and then that was the first time they ever hired a full-time teacher. But there were 3 boys and 3 girls in my class, and then when we was about 6th or 7th grade, we had another girl moved in, and that was a big deal. That didn't happen very often that somebody moved in. I don't remember ever having snow days, but I do remember getting stuck with the school bus several times, and those kids would have to get out, help push and shovel and whatever it took till somebody would come and help. But that I can remember doing that a lot. And when we got older, well, the older boys had to go to the coal bin and carry the coal in for the day for the stove. We just had one big stove in the middle of the school. And we'd carry the coal in, and then we had to clean the school too. We'd have to clean the floors and mop the floors. So you was assigned what day you had to do that. Maybe it'd be 3 or 4 boys that have to clean the floors up and sweep. Just wore what you had, you probably wore it all week.
Yeah.
Toilet was outside, you had to go out there. And when the girls was on one side and the boys was on the other side, and we'd throw snowballs across and try to hit the girls when they was in there going potty. And to get a drink of water, we all carried a tin cup in our pockets, and they collapsed. You could smash them. They was tin, and they would fold up like an accordion, and you pull them apart. You go out to the well and you pump yourself some water.
Well, I went to New Haven High School, and we had to take, it was really some tough classes after you come from a one-room school. Geography and history and biology, which was new to us, and Latin. We had to take Latin. We had 100 kids in our class, but when we were seniors, the boys were allowed to enlist in the service at 17, and so we only had 97 kids graduate instead of 100.
I remember taking algebra, which was altogether different. Didn't have no algebra training. Had to take that. And then we had shop class. I enjoyed that. Well, I wasn't good at it, but Bart's got one of my desks that I made, and I still got a table lamp here that I made. Carried her lunch, unless you wanted to go uptown to eat. Eve's restaurant uptown, and that was a mad rush. You could run through the alley, and whoever got there first get there. She always had good sloppy joes and hot dogs and French fries. She'd have it all sacked up and probably cost us 15 or 20 cents. And we'd grab a sack and go, so she could feed 100 kids real quick. But Dad would never allow that too often. I carried lunch. Austin, we only had 39 in our class when I got there, and graduated with, well, actually 39 graduated, I guess. Then we went on a senior class trip. That was a big highlight. We went to Washington, D.C. and New York City. And we was going for a week on a train. And that was the goal. Everybody, we had fundraisers and things and sold magazines and I don't know, a lot of all fundraisers, basketball games. And so just about everybody went on that trip. There was just a couple, maybe 3 or 4 did. Went to Rockefeller Center and seen the Rockettes and different things and come back home again. Our high school class was always close. There was quite a few couples who got married and still married and died as a couple. We had class reunions at first every 10 years, and then we went to 5 and finally went to 1. This past year, 2019, was the last year we didn't meet. There's about 10 of us living yet.
You had proms, you know. I never went.
We had sock hops after the basketball games.
We didn't have those either.
Didn't you?
Uh-uh.
We danced with you. Nobody's allowed on the gym floor with shoes on, so they call them sock hops. That was a big deal, but I wasn't into that much.
Well, I went to work. I worked at a place in Fort Wayne, right downtown. It was called Platka Export. I really didn't like it, and I didn't stay there very long. And I got a job at the International Harvester in the office. Worked there until the Harvester had a big layoff, and then I worked at North American Van Lines, which I stayed, which was the best thing that happened. Is the office work. And I was the assistant manager of the billing department. So I liked my job. Well, till we got married, so that would have been...
Till you got showing your belly.
Oh yeah, well, you didn't work that long after you got pregnant there. I don't think people went back to work after
Took care of the kids.
they had their families. No, our department was the billing department. It was all young ladies. And then the rating department was next to us, and they were all middle-aged women. And I remember they came around and said they were going to sell North American Airline stock, and $10 a share, and you could buy as many shares as you wanted to. Us young ladies, I bought 10 for $10 a piece. That was $100. That was a lot of money, you know. So now, I won't even tell you how much that's increased. It's really increased. And then they gave us Young China stock for so much North American stock.
Well, I just wanted to farm, and Dad, he had work till about the middle of the summer, and then not even till the 1st of July I could help him, but then didn't have much to do, or help paint, or I helped paint barns, and then I got drafted in the service. I remember one farmer I worked for, if I worked all day.
You mean an hour?
All day, he'd give me 75 cents, drive a tractor, and if I worked a half a day, he'd give me 50 cents. So I should have worked just a half a day. And then all the ice cream you wanted to eat, and then he fed you supper.
I don't know of any my friends that went to college.
Some of my classmates went to service, like you said, and then after they got out of service, they went to college. GI Bill. That was in 1953, and then I got drafted in April, and I went to that same day. They took me down to Indianapolis. Well, then they flew us down to Georgia. I took basic training in Georgia. That's pretty rough. They really work you, and long days get you up between 4:30 and 5, and get shaved, get cleaned up, and then get you down to feed, and then about 7 o'clock, you started training. And if you didn't goof up all day, you'd be lucky you got back to your barracks at 6:30 at night. Then one day they called me out, me and 2 or 3 other guys out of a group of 300 probably. Oh boy, what do I do now? And then they took us in some private room. They said, you guys have been drafted for special duty, and we're gonna have to get FBI clearance on you. We can't tell you what's gonna be yet, but it'll be a good deal for you. Don't goof up. Well, I didn't know what it was, so then they sent us to teletypewriter school, and that was for 18 weeks right there in Georgia. So that put me into the end of November till I got done with that. So I got to go to Fort Devens. They said, well, you'd be a cryptographic repairman. And I studied harder to get through that school than I ever did in high school. At night, I'd study, because I liked it, and I wanted to do it. And so I got to stay in. So then I was up there 18 weeks, and that put me into June. Come home for leave. Got home for leave. Dad had a bunch of hay made. He said, no, I was going to be home. So I worked all the time. I was home making hay. But we got together, buddies and stuff. Then I went back to Springfield, Massachusetts, and flew over to Athens, Greece, then over to Turkey. And I was only there 9 months, and then I come back home again. Repaired teletype machines and some cryptographic machines, not too much, but mostly teletype machines. And I liked it. It was good. You take all kinds of tests when you get into service, and then they evaluate you. And I really thought I could learn that. And you had to have some mechanical skills, plus the electric part I didn't know, and that's where I really had to study. The mechanical stuff come pretty easy for me. But so the old teletype writer machines, that's how they communicated between railroads and trains, and it would type out a message. We repaired them. But the cryptographic stuff, that was top secret stuff. And I didn't get a lot of that overseas, but I did get some of it. Repaired that. They set me up in Salonika, Greece one time for a week or 10 days and repaired some machines, but not a lot. When I first got over there, I didn't realize that when I left the States, I probably wasn't paying attention when they told me, but I didn't have enough money with me. Here when we got to Athens, Greece, we got it checked into a hotel and we had to pay our own way. I said, I don't have no money. Well, I said, we'll take you down to the Navy. There was a Navy place where you could get money, advance payment on your pay. So I got some advance money, and I paid my hotel bill. Then when we got to Turkey, they had little barracks there. There was about 8 or 9 of us that stayed there, but no food, so we had to buy our own food. But then they give us what they call per diem, and we got paid like $9 or $10 a day for food, which was a lot over there. They paid that in green, in American money. But we had to go buy it in the Turkish restaurants, and but that wasn't good. The food wasn't good. I got pretty sick, but finally got used to it. And then we took me and two other guys. We took a 22-day leave during the winter there. I don't know when it was, in January or February, sometime there. We went all the way from Turkey up to, we jumped. We could go down to the airport and we could get on military planes. You didn't know where he was going or when, but you could get on a plane. So that's how we went all the way across Europe to England. But then coming back, we had to be back at a certain day. So then we flew commercial planes back, so we'd gotten back in time. But going over, we flew on everything from a hospital ship to just whatever was available. I remember one old plane just had seats along the side, and we were sitting in there, no heat. It was cold, but it was free. To Naples, jumped over to Naples, and hopped up to Rome, and hopped over to Frankfurt, Germany, and over to London, England. Athens, Greece was beautiful. I liked that. It was just pretty and warm, nice city. Paris was dirty. Didn't like Paris at all. It was dirty. Where I stayed in Turkey, they didn't like us over there. Probably much different as today. You'd walk down the street and you could hear them talking about Americana, Americana, but you didn't know what they're saying. Because we rent motorcycles and go across the countryside. And the Korean War had just stopped, so that everything was pretty upbeat. And a lot of the Turkish soldiers was just coming back from Korea when I was over there. Turkish soldiers was a good ally. They were fighters. They said they were really good over in Korea for America. And I was in NATO. That was North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Their headquarters was there where I was at. And that was just made after World War II. So NATO included Turkey and Italy and Greece. So them troops all got sent over there to Korea that time. Some of my buddies went right to Korea, right out of basic training. But then till they got there, Eisenhower was the president. He stopped the war in July. See, I got out of basic training in July. In fact, I was still in basic training when he stopped the war. I remember Dad standing out, when I got in the car, standing out there crying. He probably was more worried than I was. But I can still see him out there. But of course, Marvin come home. He got drafted in World War II after the war was over. So he was back home. But then everybody thought that was the end of the wars, and then they started that Korean War, so then it was all over. Everybody got drafted. See, everybody was drafted. Either drafted or you had to join. Some guys would join the Air Force. That was 4 years, or if you joined the Marines, it was 3 years. A lot of guys did that or joined the Navy for 4 years. They said that way I won't be drafted into the infantry. I didn't want to go for 4 years, so I took my chance and got drafted. So when I got home, then I started looking for a lady.
Everybody went to the hayloft. It was a dance, a barn dance.
I think the first time we went on a date, though, we went on a double date with Frosty and Marilyn Shear. They kind of set us up. This one guy, he was from Ohio. I said, Freddie, let's go down to Hoagland and have a beer. Okay, so we left the dance and went to Hoagland and got a beer. Got talking about girls. Yeah, he says, I'm dating Hildegarde Bauermeister. And I said, oh, I don't even know her. Yeah, I'm dating her. Well, it wasn't long I was dating. I don't even know what we did on the first date. We were with Marilyn and Frosty. We probably went to the movie or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we square danced, but he didn't round dance.
Square dance and polka.
Yeah.
With the round dances, we'd go out and have a beer. We dated for 2 years, and then when I was going over to pick her up that one Saturday night, I went past it. I always had to go by the hayloft, and I seen it was on fire. So I went and picked her up, and Dorothy, and I suppose your mom went along, I don't remember. We came back and watched it burn. Well, it was just about gone. And so then that was 2 weeks before we were supposed to get married, and we had that rented for our wedding. So we didn't know what we were going to do.
It was Trier's barn. It was, a lot of people had weddings there. And we were lucky they had that night open.
That was probably because it was Easter Sunday.
Yeah. See, in those days, you weren't supposed to get married in Lent. That's
Grandma was she'd need to be married. Your mom was tickled because I was Lutheran. That sold her. If I wouldn't have been a Lutheran, I couldn't have never dated. Well, my mom wouldn't allow it either. April 21st, 57. Yeah, we had a big dance. A lot of beer. Good weather. It was warm. It was beautiful. Everybody used to drag their gifts to the wedding. They'd have a big table set up with all the gifts and stuff. And you had to have arrangements for everybody to take that away from her because we was going to go on a honeymoon. Yeah, big old German dance, because all the Beermans they liked to dance. So my side didn't dance that much. But
yeah, I guess that's right. Your family.
But the Beermans, they really liked to drink beer and dance.
It was a bunch. I know that it was a lot, but I can't say the number.
300-400, I suppose.
Probably.
Yeah. We didn't have no dinner, but we had lunch.
Yeah.
You know.
Never.
That's all we had was beer. We didn't have liquor.
Mm-hmm. Then we went to D.C. for our honeymoon.
I don't think you'd ever been there. Of course, I was there on a class trip,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that.
So all the sites we went out to the cemetery, and we went out to just everything that was popular.
It wasn't congested then like it is now.
No.
We was there 3 or 4 days, I guess. But the Eisenhower was a former president. He had a farm out there, Gettysburg, and at that time you could tour that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were out there for a day or so. When we come back, the house was empty.
Yeah.
Dad was milking cows yet, and we bought well, you know where Grandma and Grandpa lived, just west there. He bought that house, that farm, about a year before that. And then that winter before we got married, we remodeled that house. And as we was remodeling it, Dad and Mom decided, well, we're gonna live here and let them live on the farm. That was their idea.
Well, they didn't want to milk.
They didn't want milk. Dad was 65 years old when we got married. And so that was their idea. And we moved in the farmhouse and they moved while we were on our honeymoon. Dad moved in with us then for 6 years. Hildegarde took care of my dad for 6 years. Hildegarde done a lot taking care of my dad. That wasn't her dad, it was my dad. And she sacrificed a lot. Well, we had chickens and
that's right.
And there wasn't any sheep anymore. Dad didn't have any hogs. So there was just the chickens and then
Cows.
the cows, the calves, young cattle. He had about 10 cows, and so there would have been about 10 heifers. Heifers is the young cattle, calves. So 25 head of cattle, about all together. And, so we milked them cows, I don't know, a couple of years, 3, 4 years, I don't know. I didn't like milking cows, and she had to milk some.
Well, sure, because that's when I'd get back in the house and Kelly would have everything pulled out of the drawers. Yeah, she was at about 1.5 years, going on 2 years, but it kept her busy. She did get into trouble. And see, Beth was a little older, so she could kind of watch her a little bit. But
She bought like Harper and Lily running around.
I just remember, I just knew when I'd get back in, I'd have those dresser drawers in our bedroom would just be emptied out. I don't know what she was looking for, but
Help me milk, and help feed the calves or something while I was milking. So she always helped me. She had it harder than I thought she did. Yeah, after I got rid of the cows, then I got pigs. That was in the early 60s sometime.
well, and then we raised tomatoes. And I think of this so often, we had Jamaicans that lived there in our chicken coop, right? The house right next to our house. And they were just, they were just good people. They just didn't, the girls would go out and watch them pick tomatoes and stand out there and they'd talk to them and look how close they were to the house. And then we never had any trouble with them or anything. How many months would they be there?
Well, they'd be there from about before Labor Day. They come in August and leave about the middle of October, about 8 weeks. Well, he was 24 when we got married. Beth was born next year.
2 years.
25. He was 25 when Beth was born.
And then Kelly was 2 years later, and Trudy was.
You said you wasn't 32.
Oh.
Then you said that was it. I had to have the rest.
Well, Doc Harding kind of stopped that. He said he didn't think I should have any more kids.
everybody thought I had to have a boy but me. That was never my goal. I think she felt guilty. That was never my goal. Because just because you had a boy didn't mean you're going to be a farmer. So that was our family.
Well, see, with Trudy that time, we were snowed in, remember?
Yeah, I think remember.
We couldn't, it was really drifted bad, and the neighbors came in and actually shoveled out for us to get, and then we went to his, I thought I was going into labor, we went to his sister's house, which was along the highway, because we knew if we were there, we could get out and get to the hospital. But our road wouldn't be cleared out.
I wasn't there either.
Well, no, you had gone home to milk the cows, that's right.
And they called around 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're gonna have to take her to the hospital. And I sat around there till probably 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then my chore time was always around 6. The nurse says, you might as well go, she ain't gonna have no baby.
Yeah.
I don't know when I was born, sometime during the day. But they didn't leave men into the room anyway while he was born. You had to sit out in the hall and wait. Then they kept you in the hospital for 4 days.
Oh, sometimes a week. And now they shove you out.
I remember when Beth was born, before I got home or got dismissed, I had to go down and pay for it. I might be wrong on this amount, but it seemed to me like I wrote a check for $250. We didn't have insurance or nothing. We didn't have that then. Beth was always shy. She had such curly hair. And people would always come up to her, and she was just about like a little Lily.
Well,
she didn't make up with strangers.
Yeah, Kelly was more outgoing now, I guess.
She was a good girl, all 3 of them. They had a good mom though. She raised the kids, and I was out raising hogs. I had a short temper. Yeah. 1,000 cows didn't do what I thought, but I had a short temper. I think back, kind of dumb, kind of stupid. He broke my hand one time. Hit a cow.
Your old man? I didn't remember that.
Hit her in the ribs, and the ribs was harder than my hand and busted something.
I ended up coaching the kids volleyball team, but I think back, it was kind of fun. You know, it's kind of scary first when you think about it, but I played basketball in high school, but you know, years ago you only played half the floor. Basketball. You didn't cross the center line. You stayed on this one, and the boys weren't that way. It's fast and quick.
Kelly kept score for the high school basketball.
Okay, but I know she played volleyball.
Yeah, she ran track, so I don't remember.
Trudy was on the volleyball team. I went to pick her up because she had music lessons, I believe, or something. I picked her up at school. And that night, coming home from school, the school bus was on where Beth and Mark live. It'd be the next crossroad to the west. And the school bus had a wreck. And there were several girls had broken arms and stuff, but she wasn't on it because I had picked her up at school. I remember Arnold Sheeler, the neighbor, I was out there in the barnyard, and he stopped and he said the school bus wrecked, and he said some kids it's upset, and that's all he said. And I thought, well, Trudy's on that bus, and I got in the car or truck or whatever, buzzed over there quick, and while I was on my way, I happened to think that she had picked her up, and she wasn't on the car hit the side of the bus and upset that thing. I don't know how in the world. So anyway, Trudy wasn't involved with it at all. No.
What a relief. Then the boys started coming.
Well, Beth she was at college at Ball State, and then when she graduated, she moved to Indy and had a job there. And she went to church, a Lutheran church, and that was Mark's That's when they started dating. And Kelly, she met Greg at college. I don't know how. Probably party or something. I don't know. And Trudy, she met him at school. Yeah, they both went to Ball State, yeah. Yeah, they both.
But in high school, I don't remember too many, what they dated.
Well, once the kids are gone in high school, you don't know much about what's going on.
I remember very distinctly, I was out in the kitchen, I don't know what I was doing. Mom and the girls was in the other room. Mom hollered, "Dad, come in here. Girls want to both get married."
I don't remember that.
They got shot right at both of them at the same time.
It
Callie wanted to get married and Beth wanted to get married.
was years apart.
It was 1 year apart, but they both had decided they had the right guy. I don't remember them guys dealing to me. No, I'm proud of the son-in-laws. All three of them. I remember real good when Luke was born.
You do?
And Mark, that was his first year farming with me. And we had beans to cut. And we had just started cutting beans. And Beth called and says, "I gotta go to the hospital," like middle of the afternoon sometime. I said, "Well, you go." "No," he said, "I'm gonna sell my first load of beans." Sold that first load of beans. Then he went and picked up Beth. We was around Luke probably more than any of them because as he grew up, he always wanted to play ball.
I always worried about Rachel because he could throw so hard and he'd throw him so hard at her.
And how he come along, everybody was happy. But I do remember when you came up, pulled a trick on your dad, you was sitting in a sassy seat at our kitchen table. We was all around there. And I don't know what the Dylan did, but he got in trouble with his dad over something. We was all there pretty sober while Dylan was getting his speech from his dad. And when he got done, you just laughed. I don't know what you did. You just laughed, made it the funniest face. Well, that was it. Everybody had laughed. Your dad hadn't laughed.
Got nice great grandkids. They're all healthy too. That's the main thing.
Well, we both seen a lot of changes. Just
Everything's different. The world's different.
hung your clothes outside.
Yeah.
But you used to hang, when we first got married, you hung the diapers out on the line.
Yeah.
Summer and winter, and then we finally got a dryer. But when we got married, you just had an old crank telephone.
Oh, yeah. There's about 10 of them on the telephone line, and the older ladies didn't have anything to do. They just sit there and listen on the phone. His aunt was one of.
Well, the old cars, they didn't have hardly very good heater in them. It was, when Beth was born, she was just a baby. I remember we went there at Christmas for her.
Oh, yeah.
Her mom always had a big Christmas party for the Behrmans, and it was cold, and it was blowed cold all day, and of course I had to come home and milk. So we bundled up Beth and took off from there, and I didn't get halfway home, the car was getting hot, and it froze up on me. And it was cold. And we pulled in somebody's driveway, and well, they said, "Bring that baby in the house till we get that car thawed out." And so somebody that we just pulled along the side of the road, you know. Heaters weren't very good in the cars, and cars weren't very good. The best we had. Didn't have any money. She always said, she always said she had more money than I did. I didn't have any. You didn't have any money when we got married.
Oh, yeah.
Just love.
Well, I had money, but you didn't. I had money because I worked.
I didn't have nothing.
You didn't have anything.
I remember a guy Said, when you go pay your fertilizer bill? Well, pretty soon now. I have some coming. It was kind of rough going for a while, but we finally got on our feet. But there's a lot of, I suppose the biggest change has been the computers. That changed everything.
Televisions.
Television. We didn't have no television. Well, we had when we got married, yeah. Oh, that was a big thing. Go watch TV someplace. Yeah. It ain't all been, it's not all pleasant. There's bad days. But there's more good days than bad days.
Yeah, they aren't always all good.
Well, it never changes. It's always that. And I made a vow. That's the reason I'm up here too. Take care of your spouse till death do you part. And I just think this is part of it. I didn't want to come up here. She knows that. I fought that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do this. But I finally prayed about it, cried about it, and everything. Well, that's I made a vow to help take care of her through sickness and good health. And I guess this is the time when she needs help. Sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. I'm the only healthy one up here.
Yeah.
There's not many men to start with. I walk. If you can, I walk the hallways here. Sometimes I'll go out there at 10 o'clock at night. I sit here in the chair and maybe watch television, and I can't sit. First couple of nights, they must have cameras in the hallways. Anyway, pretty soon somebody, are you okay, Ralph? Now they know I do it. I said, just taking a walk. Patty says the other day, how come you're walking pretty fast? So anyway, that's the way it is. She's got it pretty good. Gets the place cleaned every day. No dishes to wash. I do the laundry, so she got nothing to do.
But there comes a time when you just can't handle it yourself. You just, well, we had too many steps for one thing. I couldn't get out of the house without steps. I couldn't go upstairs. I couldn't go in the basement.
Of course, all the old jokes are always, if you got a happy wife, everybody's happy.
Happy wife?
Mm-hmm.
I never heard that.
That's always been true and still true. Anybody tells you you've never had a bad day, perfect marriage, well, you know they're lying, because there ain't nothing like a perfect marriage. But you gotta give and take an awful lot. You see all these divorces today. It ain't so bad the parents, but the kids. That's what bothers me. I don't think they try to stay together. Sometimes there's no hope, but that's old time talk.
There's good times and there's bad times. You're gonna have both. That's it. You got all kinds of things turn up.
Well, don't forget your Lord Jesus Christ. Have faith and depend on Him if you have problems. So that's the main thing.